6:15, this is a Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, to take a look at the headlines. Foreign Minister briefs the media on the outcomes of President Wickramasinghe's India visit. During the visit, attention was drawn up to setting up a university in Nuwara. The two sides have agreed to use the Indian rupee in Sri Lanka as a valid currency. It has been stated that Sri Lanka will be able to achieve a positive growth next year. The government has paid attention to provide government-owned commercial lands located in the main cities to the investors. The police say that more than 32,000 narcotic raids have been conducted so far this year. And in news overseas, scientists say that climate records tumble, leaving the Earth in uncharted territory. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri says that President Ranil Wickramasinghe has discussed India's intervention for the progress of the Tamil people in the plantation sector who have been in Sri Lanka for about 200 years. Joining a press conference held at the President's Media Centre today to announce the outcomes of President Wickramasinghe's official visit to New Delhi, Foreign Minister Sabri detailed the agreements reached with the Government of India. The minister pointed out that during the visit, attention was drawn to setting up a university in Nuwara and also to establish Indian universities in Sri Lanka. Minister Sabri further emphasized that it was agreed with India to acquire new technical knowledge required for agriculture, animal husbandry and dairy farming on the island, for which a joint declaration of intent was signed. Further, the banning of bottom trawling fishing practices in the northern sea areas, which have been ongoing for a long time, have also been taken up for discussion, along with the decision to allow Sri Lankan fishermen to move to the Arabian Sea through the Indian Sea. Meanwhile, the foreign minister also expressed that an agreement was reached to work cooperatively with the Indian Ocean region so as not to threaten the mutual security. The two sides have also mulled using Indian rupee in Sri Lanka as a valid currency, Minister Sabri added. The Police Anti-Narcotic Bureau says that more than 32,000 narcotic raids have been conducted so far this year. 78,169 individuals have been taken into custody with regard to drug dealing. The Bureau also stated that nearly 390 kilograms of heroin have been detected and the raids will be continued. State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinghe says that the rapid and difficult reforms carried out by the government to maintain financial discipline and transparency in the country are essential for a sustainable economy in the future. While addressing the 104th annual general meeting of the Colombo Rubber Traders Association today, State Minister of Finance pointed out that the current economic reforms will not be reversed by any future governments. Implementing the Anti-Corruption Act to create transparency, the new Central Bank Act to enable the Central Bank to make independent decisions, as well as the Bank Special Provisions Act to protect the financial systems including banks, depositors and their deposits, the economy is moving in a more reliable direction, the minister said. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. The government has paid attention to provide government-owned commercial lands located in the main cities to the investors. State Minister of Urban Development Arundhika Fernandes said that these lands can be utilized directly for the country's economic development. The development projects that were halted midway are to be recommenced. He made these remarks while participating in a media briefing held in Colombo yesterday. President Ranil Wickramasinghe worshipped the Jashri Mahabodhiya in Anuradhapura this morning. He met the Atamasthanathipati of the Viharaya, Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Thera, and received the blessings from the Mahasangha. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. Foreign Minister briefs the media on the outcomes of President Wickramasinghe's India visit. During the visit, attention was drawn to setting up a university in Nuwara. The two sides have agreed to use the Indian rupee in Sri Lanka as a valid currency. It has been stated that Sri Lanka will be able to achieve a positive growth next year. The government has paid attention to provide government-owned commercial lands located in the main cities to the investors. The police says that more than 32,000 narcotic raids have been conducted so far this year. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The main news story for this evening, the health sector has informed to pay attention of vaccination of children as scheduled. Deputy Director of the Lady Ridgeway Hospital Specialist Dr. Deepal Pereira noted the importance of immunizing vaccinations given by the government. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
And in Voshla this evening, the indigenous Ayurveda associations have pointed out that a systematic program has not been implemented to conserve the necessary herbal plants in the southern province. There is a threat of loss of these valuable herbal plants due to illegal deforestation. This situation has been obstruction to many and various Ayurveda treatment. This is for the attention of the governor of the southern province. That came to you in Watchlight, and now let's move on to the headlines of the world news. Scientists say that climate records tumble, leaving the Earth in uncharted territory. Polarized Spain eyes a hard right hand for elections. At least 22 dead and dozens trapped in deadly Indian landslide. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. A series of climate records on temperature, ocean heat and Antarctic sea ice have alarmed some scientists who say their speed and timing is unprecedented. Dangerous heat waves in Europe could break further records, the UN says. It is hard to immediately link these events to climate change because the weather and oceans are so complex. Studies are underway, but scientists already fear some worst-case scenarios are unfolding. Spain's election on Sunday is provoking political tremors even before the polls open. The most likely government to emerge, most analysts predict, will be a coalition including a hard-right nationalist party for the first time in Spain since the death of the fascist dictator Francisco Franco in the year 1975. More left-leaning Spaniards are frantically texting contacts, urging them to make sure to vote despite the heat and it being a holiday time for many to stop the fascists in their tracks. 22 people have died and more than 100 are still trapped after a massive landslide hit a village in the western Indian state of Maharashtra. The landslide occurred in Aishalwadi village in the Ragi district on Wednesday night and flattened several homes. Rescue efforts resumed after they were halted on Thursday night due to heavy rain. Officials say the disaster spot is located on a hilltop and the tough terrain is hindering rescue operations. Around 105 people are still missing, the Maharashtra government has said. And that was the world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
A development program has been initiated to empower the economy of poor families in the rural areas. Measures will also be taken to introduce new types of production and to upgrade the market. Another objective is to create new employment opportunities for them. The government has allocated 2.7 billion rupees for this initiative. And that was the development news.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 500 500.
Moving on to sports news, Sri Lankan cricketer Lahira Thirimana announced his retirement from all formats of the international cricket with immediate effect today. In an Instagram post, Thirimana said, "Absolute honor to have the opportunity to represent the country. Thanks a lot for the 13 years of amazing memories and well wishes throughout my journey." The 33-year-old Lahira Thirimana has represented Sri Lanka in 44 test matches, 127 one-day matches and 26 T20 matches. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Ministry of Plantation has initiated a program to create new opportunities for tea cultivators and researchers. The aim of this move is to further uplift the tea industry in the country. Minister Ramesh Pathiran said that 6.7 million rupees has been spent for this project. That is the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
And now in economic news.
The official government figures has revealed recently that 1 in every 3 loans provided to small and medium-scale enterprises in Sri Lanka by lending institutions in the year 2022 was by the Commercial Bank of Ceylon. This emphatic reaffirmation of Commercial Bank's status as the largest lender by far to the country's SME sector comes in the year 2022 annual report of the Ministry of Finance, which shows that the Commercial Bank accounted for 34.2% of the total loans provided to the SME sector by commercial and specialized banks. That was economic news and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report.
Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Galle and Matara districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. Strong winds about 60 km per hour can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Munaragala, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. And before we conclude this bulletin, let's get back to the headlines once again. Foreign Minister briefs the media on the outcomes of President Wickramasinghe's India visit. During the visit, attention was drawn to setting up a university in Nuwara. The two sides have agreed to use the Indian rupee in Sri Lanka as a valid currency. It has been stated that Sri Lanka will be able to achieve a positive growth next year. The government has paid attention to provide government-owned commercial lands located in the main cities to the investors. The police says that more than 32,000 narcotic raids have been conducted so far this year. And in news overseas, scientists say that climate records tumble, leaving the Earth in uncharted territory. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news. Now it's back to your Saturday evening host, my good friend Ramesh, on the other side of the glass panel to keep you entertained.